I'm deeply passionate about customer excellence. I think that's why I went into this industry. Not only that, but my love for creating beautiful, functional, and practical spaces, for my customers to walk into and just be comfortable and see everything that is pleasing to the eye. I am Dipuo Phakathi. I own a company called Denik Cabinets. We design, manufacture, and install customized kitchen units, built-in cupboards, and office furniture. I grew up in a small mining town called Carltonville. The township that I grew up in is called Kutsong. So typical mining town. Obviously then I went on to study engineering because you only knew successful people to be engineers, especially growing up in a small mining town. But I was raised by my grandparents while my parents pursued teaching careers in the Free State. So my grandmother ran a small shebeen at home. Hence, even the business bug was there then because I would see her interacting with customers and stuff like that. And my grandfather actually worked at a furniture store. I don't know if you guys can remember, but it was called Town Talk. And I used to spend a lot of time there, and I guess that's where, that thing for furniture also, I realized I love furniture. Furniture was part of our home. And as you can imagine, being raised by my grandparents, I think there was about 8 grandchildren there at home, and we would sit around the coal fireplace on the floor because typically that's where the children sat around dinner. We shared stories, and that's the typical upbringing. So you fast forward to now where I get to work on houses with 8 million rands and kitchens that have islands. For me, it's also still mind-boggling, especially judging from the fact that I come from typically humble beginnings. So my parents were both teachers, and because I was a typical good maths and science student, I went on to pursue a career in metallurgical engineering, and hence I actually have 8 years experience working in the mining industry. My parents supported my career, and also I think growing up in a small mining town where you are surrounded by plumbers, electricians. For me, it was always I never saw those people struggling for work, millwrights. The fact that I actually worked in a mine, I interacted with them all the time. So I've actually had a positive outlook through the artisanship, and I've always knew that there is a solid career behind following that career path. So while I was still working for corporate, I joined one of the banks that I was working for, had a competition under the headline, "What's your next big hustle?" And it was a competition for permanent employees that have side hustles. And at that time, I was running a side hustle myself. I had actually started the carpentry business, but with myself and 2 carpentry assistants. And our target market was basically low-cost houses that we could do over a weekend. But I joined this competition, and in this competition I was competing against people that were manufacturing trailers, people that were running serious businesses. But we went through a series of pitching competitions, sales competitions, and marketing competitions. And to cut the long story short, I won that competition, and the prize was that you win 4 months paid leave to focus on your side hustle. So for me, that chance made me realize that, I'll never get an opportunity like this. And if I don't make my business work during this time, I will never have such an opportunity. And I think just the way I pushed and the outlook that I had, the perspective, the mindset of, I'm gonna make this work and there's no turning back from here. Because I then realized during that 4 months that I don't want to go back into corporate. Entrepreneurship is my thing, and this is what I want to go forward with. I also worked in a department called enterprise development, and I think that's where the entrepreneurial bug literally hit me. You know, I was surrounded by entrepreneurs that look like me, you know, the same age as me, going for their passions and for their dreams. And so I thought, you know, if they can do it, I can also do it. And so while I was renovating my own house, I think it was in 2016, part of the things I was doing is renovating my kitchen, my walk-in closet. And that's when I really realized that this is my passion. I enjoy this. I spent, you know, hours doing this, and I thought this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I think 2 years later, I, you know, quit corporate and I went full-time into business. I'm deeply passionate about customer excellence. I think that's why I went into this industry. Not only that, but my love for creating beautiful, functional, and practical spaces, you know, for my customers to walk into and just be comfortable and see everything that is pleasing to the eye. Not only am I obsessed about process efficiency, cutting out waste, you know, productivity. So for me, I think that's the artisanship coming out, and also my engineering background playing that process-driven role in everything. So that's what I like, you know, I like everything to work efficiently, productivity to be increased, wastage to be minimized. I think it's just something that I have in me. One of the challenges that we face, obviously, as a black woman in this industry is that it's mainly white male dominated, especially artisanship, more especially in the carpentry industry. I mean, I'm in the kitchen manufacturing industry. For one, you know, you are invited to a site briefing, you go on site, there's architects, there's developers, there's builders. Very seldom are they black women that look like me. So I get to site and you know, I found out I'm the only person that looks like the way I do. Sometimes language can be a barrier because in this industry also typically, you know, the language that will be dominated is Afrikaans. But you know, what I realized is that when you raise your voice and people can see that you know your work, that's when they will include you in the conversation. So I think I have focused very much on, you know, excelling, being an expert in what I do so that nobody can shut me out of the conversation. One of the things that can set you back, I think it's that leap of faith from jumping from a side hustle to a full-time hustle, going full-time into business. You know, often people will, you know, tell you about how hard it is, the financial impact of going into business, you know, some of the responsibilities that are going to be on you, especially as you grow and employ people. You know, people will always tell you that, you know, business is not just about business operations also. There's HR involved, there's marketing, you know, there's strategy. So I think generally the environment itself sometimes is not so conducive, especially for a black woman going into a trade. You know, the support is not always there because I guess people have that connotation of what if it doesn't work? But then you always have to come up with that thing at the back of your mind to say, what if it does work actually? And I think that's what I've held on to. And for me, it's propelled my business career. The trades have always been an important factor in our economy, even as a whole. You know, not everyone is meant to go the mainstream route of, you know, your typical universities and stuff like that. Some people are just inclined to excel doing what they do best with their hands, you know. So for me, it has never been a doubt, and I don't understand why anyone would doubt it. But I mean, it's very important, and people actually don't know that it's a lucrative career. I run a successful business. I run a profitable business. If you look at plumbers out there, they are making money, they are building their livelihoods and they are succeeding in it. So there's no doubt that, following the trade is a lucrative career role for everyone. Okay, my advice for young people aspiring to becoming artisans is that, there's never a perfect moment for anything, and you don't have to know everything in the beginning. I think we often obsess about, do I know enough information? Do I have all the resources in the beginning? And it's really not about that. So I would advise start where you are with what you have, start from the beginning, start with as little as possible, and the growth will come. That's one piece of advice that has really worked for me. And the other one is that, don't let fear cripple you. I think we all have passions and dreams that we aspire to be like, and, we often let fear get in the way of things. So I think just be fearless, try something new, and start with what you have, and, everything else will follow. I run a very successful carpentry business. Why? Because I have been able to equip myself with people that are carpenters, that are technically skilled. And I come in with my background of entrepreneurship, of engineering, of process, and I've combined all of that, and that's how the business has been able to succeed and go to another level. So hence I'm saying you don't have to have all the resources. Identify your strong points, and whatever weaknesses you have, try and get the relevant resources to come in, that technical part or that business part that you are lacking. And then partnerships, relationships, collaborations, that's actually the way to grow. I'm Dipuo. I am an artisan entrepreneur. My skill, my business.